Once upon a time, the world was round, and you could go on it, around and around. This poem is by Gertrude Stein. John Cage wrote a setting of it as his second movement of living room music. The instrumentation for this movement is a speech quartet. Since many of you are probably jonesing to perform with other people, for our final singing assignment number 4, you will need to form and virtually perform this piece with 3 other members of the class. You should confirm the members of your quartet as soon as possible. If you're not sure how to find people to join your team, in the discussion board you can identify yourself along with which parts you are able to perform and hopefully find some willing participants. You will each record a video of your chosen part, synced with a metronome recording I will provide. This metronome will serve as an in-ear click track to make sure everyone is performing at precisely the same tempo. Afterwards, someone in the group will need to volunteer to mix the audio and video together into a single performance. In other words, the final submitted video should combine visually and aurally all 4 performers. This is not nearly as complicated as you might think, and the score is available now on Blackboard. Today I just want to go over the basic techniques involved up to rehearsal letter B. So let's discuss some of the subtlety in the dynamics, the timbre, and vocal inflections. The movement begins with performer number 2. The directions say piano and half voice. So until rehearsal letter A, part 2 rhythmically plays with the opening phrase, once upon a time. Is the phrase once upon a time or once upon a time? Do you hear the difference? Is the emphasis at the beginning or the end of the sentence? Once upon a time or once upon a time? Now I hear the possibility of both interpretations, but to my ear, the context calls for once upon a time. Well, why? There's kind of a stuttering effect on the repetition of the phrase, a time. Once upon a time, a once upon a time. It's like there's a glitch in the Matrix or something. Or better yet, now you all won't be familiar with this, but it reminds me of Max Headroom from the 80s.
And afterwards, that is directly following, I want to talk to you about something even bigger, namely Max Headroom. Well, these rock things are all very well if you like them, but you know, no ordinary people like you and, well, ordinary people like you oughtn't to be afraid to speak up for classical music. And of course, he could write for all sorts of voices. Sopranos, 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 altos, you name it.
Anyways, it's the unpredictability of the phrase that sticks out during these first 5 measures. Now furthermore, in measure 6, the word once vanishes. So by initially emphasizing the word once, we draw attention to its disappearance. Once upon a time, once upon a time, upon a time, upon a time. It's a lot like the children's song Bingo, right? Are you all familiar with that? The B-I-N-G-O, I-N-G-O, I. I mean, words and syllables start to inexplicably disappear. Part 1 enters in measure 5 at pianissimo and repeats virtually the same rhythm as part 2 at the beginning, only without text. Instead, we repeat a percussive sound. Now, I think, I kind of think of this as a sound of a closed hi-hat. So a very, very bright sound. Very percussive, very bright. Part 3 doesn't come in until measure 7 and repeats the word once over and over again. Now, normally the word once is a single syllable, but Cage deconstructs the formation of this word. Instead of once, the word becomes once, emphasizing the sibilance, the s sound, once, once. Until rehearsal A, parts 1, 2, and 3 are all soft and fairly short and crisp. But part 4 enters in measure 5 at mezzo forte, which is not only quite a bit louder than everybody else, it's the only voice that's sustaining a vowel. I, time, right? So it's a long sustained vowel, but it has a sharp cutoff on the third beat. Time. Starting at letter A, part 2 finds a new word to play around with, the word world. Now the notation indicates we should emphasize the final consonants, world. And we also should follow the arrows with our relative pitch. Some arrows go down, world, world. And some have a hook at the end to go back up, world. Now what's the difference in rhythm between those that just go down and those that flip back up at the end? Well, all those that go down, world, release on the beat, world, world. But those that go back up at the end delay the release an extra half beat. This inflection is drawing our attention to the discrepancy in the rhythm. World, world, world. If you can't whistle, don't choose part 4. All right, I think that gets us pretty much up to B. I really hope this is going to be a lot of fun for everyone. And as soon as you can, please form your quartets. Know who you're going to be working with. I would advise you making a preliminary recording of the beginning to B, just to become familiar with the process. There's a metronome recording of the beginning to B posted on Blackboard. Now, since, like most of you, I've never done something like this before, I quickly recorded myself performing all 4 parts of the beginning to B. So enjoy. Once upon a time, a once upon a time, a once upon a time, a time, a time, a once upon a time, once upon a time, once upon a time, a once upon a time, a time, once upon a time, upon a time, upon a time, a time upon a time, upon a time, upon a world, 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 once upon a time, upon a time, a time upon a time, a time, a once upon a time, the world was round.